On another exciting episode of the Animation Deliberation podcast, our hero Deku cannot catch a break and neither can the waterworks. We're going to talk about that and much more right after these ads we have no control over.
Sing along if you know the words. A 1, 2, 3, it's time for Animation Deliberation. A conversation and a celebration of our favorite action animated series. Yeah!
Yeah, welcome back to another episode of Animation Deliberation, the podcast where we take action animation and cartoons seriously, but not too seriously. We are your hosts. I am Zuhair Ali.
I'm Jay Scotty, but not too Scotty St. Clair.
And I am Andrew Rogers.
I'm Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Welcome back to another episode. We have some exciting but not surprising news. My Hero Academia is officially renewed for Season 7. How do we feel?
Yeah!
Yeah, not surprised, but still delighted.
Yeah,
a fantastic show, been a fantastic season. I need all... Actually, no, I do need a break because my emotional health can't handle it anymore, but I'm excited for it to come in probably a year.
Well, I mean, as long as we're not waiting like Attack on Titan time, I'm happy to wait a little while in between seasons.
Yeah, right. All right. So that is it for our news today. We do have a lot to talk about in regards to this episode, but we have feedback from TJ Stafford.
Real quickly before we get to feedback, if you didn't listen to our Bad Batch episode, we are teasing a change to Animation Deliberation in terms of our format. And basically that distilled is that you can expect to have more episodes more frequently in closer proximity to the release date of individual properties. And then we'll have like a weekly kind of like news and feedback episode. So send us your ideas, what you would like to see as part of the show moving forward. You can do that at animationdeliberationpodcast@gmail.com. And please do check out that episode of Bad Batch if you're watching Bad Batch.
This is why I need to write things down, because I literally had a brain fart. I was like, there's something else I need to say. There's a huge blank on here, and I just never felt it when
That's
you
okay.
said.
Here, let me just type in Zuhair, do your thing, so that we know what to say next time.
Yeah, I do have a thing to do. All right, so feedback from TJ Stafford. Longer email this time, but you asked for it. Yes, we did. After the last 2 weeks, I have no more tears to cry. Cue the Ariana Grande song. This show is just too much sometimes, but yet I can't stop. I was so conflicted this episode because I logically understand why the public was acting the way they were, but I was also still so angry of how they treated Deku. Fear really does bring out the worst in people. Side note, was anyone else creeped out by those shots of the crowd shouting with the red eyes? That reminded me of Titans, and it was bone-chilling. Ochako's play was very moving, and Aizawa's look of pride for his students nearly broke me. Hopefully he returns to the fold soon, because I think he and Deku are overdue for a conversation as well. I'd like to think Deku wrote him a note too, but I kinda doubt it. Anyways, you asked for my top 5 moments of My Hero Academia to date. Narrowing it down to 5 was not easy, but if Toga held a knife to my throat, I'd have to say that they are: Number 5, Endeavor defeating the high-end Nomu from the end of Season 4. Number 4, All Might's final confrontation with All For One, subsequent retirement. Number 3, Midoriya versus Todoroki at the sports festival. Number 2, Midoriya, Todoroki, and Ida versus the hero killer Stain. And number 1, Deku versus Class A for obvious reasons. That's all I have this week. Until next time, true believers. Wait, wrong cast.
Very nice, very nice.
The one he's referring to is the Marvel Cinematic Universe podcast, which you can also listen to on strandedpanda.com. And if you didn't guess, it's for a lot of the MCU stuff.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, I think that's a fantastic list. And, we kind of talked off air. We're going to make all of you wait for our lists until the end of the season here. And it will give all of you time. Please, like we said last week, write in your list of top 5 moments so we can go over all of them. But I wanted to point out, I think maybe like one of these was on my list of moments when I was kind of making it in my head the first time. And I think it's just a testament to how many moments are amazing in this show. Like, I'm sure we're going to have plenty of crossover by the end of it, but the fact that he could remind me of things that I'm like, oh shoot, should that be in the top 5 is impressive.
Yeah, it's 2 for me.
It's more than that for me, but that's all I'll say.
It is your list verbatim.
No, it's not that.
Just sitting there like, TJ, come on, man, leave some for me.
All right, let's get through the synopsis so we can talk about another just emotional heavy episode.
All right, sounds good. We are discussing My Hero Academia Season 6, Episode 24, titled A Young Woman's Declaration. And the synopsis reads as, prior to rescuing Izuku, Principal Nezu explains to Class 1A the intricacies designed into the UA barrier to keep it fortified from villains and to protect the civilians inside. In the present, the civilians protest Izuku's entry, believing his presence will put everyone in the school in danger. Best Jeanist tries to explain everything to get them to understand, but his words only make the crowd even more anxious over the hero's failures, stressing Izuku out. Ochaku then grabs the megaphone and floats up to the top of UA, giving a speech pleading to the civilians to let Izuku rest because heroes deserve to be saved too. As a result, the civilians start to see how battered and tired Izuku is, and by the end of her speech, Izuku breaks down on his knees in tears. He is comforted by Koda and the mutant woman he saved earlier.
One of the civilians speaks out to the rest of the crowd, admitting how much like bystanders they have been in their treatment towards the heroes, and that they should be doing their part to help in some way. After Izuku declares he will bring the world back to the way it was, the civilians accept him as he is escorted inside. Meanwhile, Nezu speaks to a recovering Aizawa in the central hospital, revealing that they had transferred Kurogiri to the location after discovering of him being Shirakumu's Nomu, attempting to reawaken him. Outside UA, All Might leaves to find more civilians, thinking about his influence with Izuku's current state. All the while, Stain continues to follow him.
A part of me really wanted to check if this was the same voice actress for Uraraka, because not only does the character have an incredible amount of growth and development that really got a moment to shine at this time, the delivery on her speech and her plea was just so epic. Like the passion and emotion in her voice as she was speaking, like I think I've watched this episode like 2 or 3 times now and it brought me to tears every time. It's just incredibly done. I can't wait to hear the dub version of this too because I feel like those voice actors do a fantastic job. There's we hear her inner dialogue building up to the season of like her questioning like her feelings for Midoriya, but this really does seem like more of her just hero persona and her perspective of heroes and what she feels a hero is. Like this is truly just of like her begging the world to just think in a different way and trust in heroes more than it is specifically for Midoriya. Like obviously like taking care of a friend and whatnot is there, and like the potential love interest is there, but there's just the bigger picture of what she's fighting for and what she's being a hero for, and that it was just such an incredible performance.
Yeah, I think between last week and this week, the waterworks have definitely been turned on, and I don't think I was as close to welling up this episode as I was last week, but the emotional resonance was still definitely there. And, not to take away from the impact that this episode had, but really like the message that went throughout, like between Nezu instructing Class 1A, like all it takes is for one person to take that first step, and then you can kind of like see the ripple effect that can have on people. It made me think of Rocky 4. Okay. Rocky's speech in Rocky 4. If I can change, he can change. You can change. Everybody can change. And like, again, I'm being kind of funny with it, but it's still like, it's just a universal truth. And to have like a show like this that is about superheroics, it's what keeps us coming back is the fact that yes, these people have superpowers and they are the best of us and the worst of us. But at the end of the day, we can relate to them as fully humanized characters that just want to save their friend. Their friend has done so much and been such a bleeding heart and such a martyr, and to see him mistreated this way, like, again, I did it last week and I'm doing it this week again. I got the goosebumps going right now just thinking about how she laid it all on the line and she put her heart out there, and that's not her nature. Like, she gets embarrassed so easily anytime anybody teases her about her crush on Midoriya, and to see her just really like I feel like this was her hero moment. Like this was her showing what it really means to be a hero, and it's not always about flying high, super heroics, and punching up and beating up the bad guy. Sometimes it is being that beacon of hope to the people and inspiring change, and for that, it really resonated with me.
Oh yeah, I mean, you knew that she was going to do something. I don't think I could have guessed that it would have been this amazing, this impactful, and this just true to form. The way that she was like, someone needs to support these heroes, and it has to be you, because without you, what are we doing all of this for? It was just absolutely earth-shattering and amazing across the board. And I mean, yeah, you say that it didn't, necessarily make you well up as much. I was welling up throughout the entirety of that speech. The minute I saw Deku's mom, the full tears came down. I recovered myself for like 30 seconds, and then Kato said he wanted red shoes, and I lost it. Like that was the tipping point for me, when he was looking up to his hero that much, and to remember the way that Deku has had an influence on all of these people and is basically becoming the next All Might, even before we kind of gave him the credit that he was doing that, was just so perfect and so amazing. And then to, slowly see the crowd unraveling and getting the moment where they were greeting all of the students and slowly like welcoming each of them in. There was kind of that montage where they were walking up to the group. I thought it was just, an incredibly moving moment across the board. And yeah, I credit where credit is due to the writing to be able to bring out this emotional impact. And then I wanted to bring up Zuhair. You said, check in on who this voice actress is. She does an amazing job. She is accredited for a ton of things. It has been the same, because not only is she Uraraka in My Hero Academia, she's also Nightfall in Spy Family.
Oh, great.
She's Nero in Black Clover. She is Gabby Braun in Attack on Titan, just to name a few. She's also in so many other things that like I haven't seen, but Genshin Impact, Your Lie in April, Tokyo Ravens. She's just doing all sorts of things across the board, and she's phenomenal at what she does. And I think this is probably, unfortunately, the first time we've really gotten to see her shine this much. But when I reflect on how fun of a character she's been, she's done an incredible job, and I think getting to let her be front and center and protect her boy Deku was astounding and amazing.
Well, I thought you just say Nero and Black Catcher's like playing in my head now.
You're welcome.
Yeah, definitely not a complaint. I think you mentioned, one of you guys definitely mentioned it last week about like how you want to see how his mom is reacting to all this, and I like that. Not only was she held back, I think it was Bakugo that also said, like, let them talk. Like, this is their time to talk now. Like, we're just going to sit back for this one.
Right.
It may have been at the end of last episode, but it was super important to just kind of see, like for the people to get the chance to express. You see Best Jeanist try to step in, and it doesn't really help. How he speaks louder than Mike with a megaphone, I didn't quite understand. But we did just have that moment of like
vocal cords are technically threads, so he's able to.
Okay.
I just thought it was a testament to how he is that commanding of a presence.
He spoke through everyone's clothes.
Why do you think he has that long a neck? Okay.
What do you think?
Just really projects.
Well, do you think it's a long neck or a really big mouth? We don't know what's under there.
Big mouth is a different show that we're not covering. So.
Didn't they show his mouth at the press conference?
No, he had the gigantic neck collar of that dress shirt that went like all the way from his shoulders to his head.
He's fashionable.
He's something.
He's something. Good Lord, where was I going with that? Yeah, I thought it was like really important that they had their opportunity to like speak their minds and everything before Uraraka stepped in, and she was like very defensive on everything. It's not like she had like one great point that got them to turn. It really did come down to begging, and the people reacting the way that did to get, I wish I wrote down Nezu's line. I meant to do it, but then of course naturally I started crying again. But it was about like how fear and ignorance is just it taints somebody, and it spreads and it turns into the group. It really does take someone to just take one step, and for him to trust in the students to be able to do that, and for him to know that's his students were capable of doing, like, he's a strategic master to actually call Aizawa and be like, look at your boys right here, boys and girls right here. It was really, really beautifully well done of just how capable and just what this group is able to do. It's really, really cool.
Yeah, I loved the moment where we got to see Nezu like kind of upset, like, oh man, it's not quite working, and then someone slowly moved from the crowd, and to watch his face just light up in this ecstatic, oh my god, it's working moment. Yeah, just one step. It was beautiful. And then just proud Aizawa being proud. Like, I agree with TJ. I hope he got a letter, because as much as he had his suspicions, I don't think he ever really got it confirmed at any point that like he was the successor to All Might and One for All. So I do hope that there was at least a little acknowledgement toward Aizawa, but you know, it's just, you got to have a thing for those characters with eye patches, because he's great, Uzui's great. It's just all the one-eyed daddy characters are just top tier.
That's one way to put it.
Oh, it's my way to put it.
If he got to talk to Gran Torino, I imagine there was an opportunity for him to, unless he just didn't want Aizawa to try to stop him, but
yeah, well, I'm sure he got an explanation at some point. I'm just curious, did he get a letter? Did Deku actually talk to him directly? Or did someone say it and be like, hey, just so you know, this is what's going on over here?
Yeah. I agree with everything that was brought up, but I have to kind of like focus on the fact that we got confirmation about what his replacement for his leg looks like. And we had the conversation like, oh, Eri could, just totally do the reversal effect on him and he could have his leg back, and that didn't happen. So it does have me kind of like wondering, like, where is Eri at during all of this?
We saw her.
Did we?
Yeah, there was like a quick frame of like her just in shock, like watching.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think she's up in the school.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I was also wondering about Lemillion, because I don't think we've seen him since his skirmish with Shigaraki where he got stabbed in the back. I assume he's okay. I think they would have let us know if that wasn't the case, but just the fact that he has not been present since then. But I'm getting away from the real point of the episode. But I did want to point out that Ochako's speech and the benefit that it had for Izuku, it not only benefited him, I feel like it benefits all heroes. And like the crowd had the acknowledgement of like, yeah, we've been really harsh on like all these heroes that did, they gave them of themselves for years and years and years, and then they finally gave up in the wake of like this discrimination. Thinking of was it Death Arms? I think is the one that we talked about last week, who we saw in the first episode, and then we saw him finally lay down his arms, no pun intended there, and walk away from the fight. They
really are dead arms now.
But yeah, I do think of the fact that they had Endeavor, Hawks, and Todoroki like waiting outside during all of this, and I think her speech and changing the tempo of the crowd or the temperature of the crowd makes it a little easier for them to sneak in, and it does kind of feel like they're kind of sneaking in because let's not forget, like, they are still under very harsh scrutiny for the revelations that Dabi gave about all of them earlier in the season. So, as much as Ochako's plea was specific to Izuku, it benefits everyone. And yeah, in that sense, again, I just have to hammer home about, I really do feel like this was her hero moment.
Oh, yeah. Even the way Endeavor dropped his head when Todoroki says, like, we're doing this together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I'm glad we didn't try and cram in that thread, but I'm so surprised that we haven't seen anything of those two trying to track down Dabi or get any more information on like what he's doing. So I feel like that's going to be, that's kind of our tease for what next season has in store, is probably that part of the storyline that we know is going to be going on in the background.
Mm-hmm. I love whenever somebody says threads, because I just think, of course, Best Genius knows how to manage threads.
I knew that was coming. I said it. I was like, oh, it's Best Genius. He's ready. He's writing this story. He's controlling all the threads. He's the puppet master.
He really sticks his neck out for everyone.
What do we think about the way the episode ended with All Might going out and staying hot on his trail?
I'm very excited for that conversation.
I called All Might an idiot. I was just like, dude, what are you doing? You don't have powers anymore. Stay inside.
He's
like,
hurting.
I know, but like somebody else cannot be out there with all the villains. Like, I hope we get to see this scene where Skinny
the people
All
who
Might
are
holds his
broken are the
own.
ones who retired. Who do you want to be out there right now?
Just
Because the options are very thin.
Mount Lady, she's still kicking. I'm just saying, like, I hope we get an awesome epic scene wherein we see Skinny All Might fight Stain. But it's the fact that we still know that All Might is supposed to die some gruesome death saving people, according to his fate, scares the daylights out of me.
Nah, I don't think there's going to be a fight at all. I think it's going to be all dialogue.
Oh.
Because if you recall the Stain arc, his whole thing was that no hero deserves to live. You're all fakes. You're all phonies, except for All Might. He's the only one true hero here. So it's going to be like a major fanboy moment for him.
I'm trying. It's been so long since he was like, an integral part of the show, and I'm trying to think back on his fight with Midoriya. Did he ever give any Stain? Did he ever give any inclination of what his estimation of Midoriya was? Because the conflict I could see coming is like, All Might, you had this power and you gave it to a kid. Now you are no longer worthy. Like, you have to pay for that.
No, because of Midoriya's stance, I guess. Mm-hmm. Like the way that he spoke up, like he got Stain's respect.
Okay. I was trying to recall if that was the case or not. Okay.
Also, does the public really... The public doesn't know that the power's been passed on, technically, yet at this point. So I don't know if Stain would even know that.
That's what I'm curious about. Because they talk about One for All directly.
But Stain was there for when All for One made his speech to all the inmates that were being broken out. So...
Did he say it to the inmates?
Not that we saw on screen, but I'm still thinking that it might be knowledge that might be out there amongst the villains, but maybe not.
I don't know.
Yeah, just the crowd's dialogue definitely made that a little bit confusing for me too.
Well, I know there was the very specific line earlier in the season that was, why hasn't he come out and said, oh, this person has the power, like that's who I'm looking for? And they said, because All for One doesn't want the public to know either, because then they can help him go into hiding and all those other things. So it felt like something that he was keeping close to the vest. That's the only reason that I'm questioning it, is because they went out of their way to say it's still not public knowledge, even though all of 1A knows, most of the upper heroes know. So that's the only interesting tidbit, but maybe that's a revelation of like, hey, why don't you have your power anymore? And he has to like confess, and then that upsets Stain in some capacity. Like you said, he might be upset that he gave it to a child, but like he has to confess that sin first.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to like not do this episode justice, but I don't know if I have too much more to say about it. Do you guys have anything that's coming to mind?
I personally think we did it justice, honestly. Okay. I had so many things that I wanted to say that we did such a great job of succinctly getting out there that I'm like, yeah, no, this was awesome, but this is it.
Shorthand. His quirk is being succinct in his dialogue.
That's not my quirk. Nope.
I wasn't saying specific that.
My quirk is called Long Wind. Doesn't know how to shut up.
You always get like these perfect points of like, oh, he's done talking, just to build up to something else. It's like, oh, he's nowhere near done.
Yep. I do it. It's amazing. I hope you all love it, listeners. That's how I weaseled my way on here, was just not letting them talk and then being like, wow, Andrew did a good job.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's it for me.
What do we want to let the listeners know about this week?
So for me, as the usual, 323 with Reed Murphy. There's a lot of sports talk and a lot of me laughing hysterically. Anywhere you find your podcast, and then another show on the Stranded Panda Network known as Bingers Assemble, rewatching movies so that you don't have to. We did the first 3 chapters of John Wick because Chapter 4 comes out this weekend, which we'll be recording shortly after. So check those out if you haven't gotten tired of me yet.
And if you haven't gotten tired of me either, you can jump over to, well, I'm sure you have, but, like I joked about before, this is one of the few times you get to hear me say the words, I was wrong, live on air. If you want to check out the Source Pages podcast, we compared the comics to the movie for Shazam! Fury of the Gods, and I held back nothing that I was not excited for that movie, and I had a great time. So if you want to hear more of my thoughts, definitely go check that out. We had a great conversation rounding out what that film was and what the DCU could be.
Low standards for the win.
Yes, it definitely do be like that. Jay Scotty, what do you have going on?
I'm going to say with confidence that you are not tired of hearing these dulcet tones. So if you want to hear it elsewhere, I don't have a specific show to tell you to check out this week, but be aware that Stranded Panda is developing a new show that I'm heavily involved with, and we should have some announcements and news about that sooner rather than later. So keep an ear and an eye out for that. And thank you for tuning in. That's TOONIN.
And as always, stay whelmed.
And follow us on social media. Muscle.
Thank you for listening to the Animation Deliberation Podcast, a proud member of the Stranded Panda Network. If you would like to contact us, you can email animationdeliberationpodcast@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter @animationdelib1. For this and other great shows, you can visit strandedpanda.com or join the great community that is the Stranded Panda Chat Facebook group at facebook.com/groups/svchat. Tune in next time, and remember, stay whelmed.